All right, Guardians, strap in. This deep dive is locked and loaded, headed straight into the core of what it means to be part of the U.S. Space Force, the Space Capstone publication.
We're laser focused on SDP-1 today, aka personnel. That's your roadmap, your playbook, really your DNA as Guardians.
Think of this like, getting issued your gear and going through Space Force Basic all in one go.
We're going deep on how this document, it lays the foundation for this new era of military might, and that means you, Guardians, how you fit into this whole grand scheme of the USSF.
We're going chapter by chapter, making sure all you Guardians out there listening are locked in, no loose ends here. First up, Chapter 1, Introduction. And they kick things off with something that might seem kind of obvious. Like, yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah.
The USSF's most valuable assets, those are its Guardians.
You might hear that and think, well, duh. But it's deeper than that. It's like the mission statement, the driving force behind every single thing in this document.
So it sets the tone.
Totally. SDP-1, it's the game plan. This is how the USSF is saying, we're going to give you the tools, the support, make you Guardians the absolute best in this new domain.
And that brings us to, well, I think this is pretty interesting. It's this idea of the competition continuum, right?
Right.
Instead of just gearing up for like the big one, this is about a constant state of readiness for anything. What does that even look like day to day for a Guardian?
Okay, picture this. You got a spectrum of operations. On one end, it's peacetime, diplomacy, all that. On the other end, boom, full-blown conflict.
Okay, so the whole range.
The competition continuum, it's saying there's no pause button. As Guardians, you got to be ready to shift gears, constantly honing your skills, like always anticipating what's next, ready to move at a moment's notice, no matter where you are on that spectrum.
So always be ready, which is, kind of a thing in the military in general, but especially in space. And speaking of being ready, the document, it emphasizes this need for diversity in the USSF, bringing in people from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life. Why is that mix? Why is that so crucial, especially for, let's be honest, a brand new branch like the Space Force?
Think about it. You're literally writing the playbook for space warfare, right? This isn't just some feel-good thing. Having those different voices, different experiences at the table, that's how you make sure this playbook, it actually works in the real world.
Yeah, makes it battle-tested before you even get to the battle.
You got it. You're tapping into the knowledge of the other branches, but also bringing in these fresh approaches, making a force that's as adaptable and as ready for anything as the challenges you're going to face out there.
It's combining that legacy with a whole new perspective. All right, Chapter 2, and I know what you're thinking. USSF organization. Time for a nap, because it's org charts, right? But we got to do it.
Yeah, but this isn't about just memorizing a bunch of acronyms. It's about really understanding how this brand new branch, how it works, how all the pieces fit together.
Where you fit in.
Exactly. So USSF, just like the other branches, they got their command structure. Top of the pyramid, we got the Office of the Chief of Space Operations, OCSO, the big dogs.
They're top dogs, yeah.
Under them, 3 major field commands: Space Operations Command, SPOC, Space Systems Command, SSC, and Space Training and Readiness Command, STARCOM.
And each one of these has each have their own lane, but it's all got to be in sync, right?
Oh, absolutely. SPOC, they're making sure that the USSF has forces ready to go for any space operation you can think of. We're talking like cyberspace, intelligence, the whole 9 yards.
They're the tip of the spear, basically, making sure the USSF is ready to fight and win.
100%. So SPOC, they're about that immediate response. Then you got SSC. They're more like, I don't know, the mad scientists, but in a good way.
Right, like the Q branch of the USSF.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. SSC is developing all the cool stuff, the really advanced capabilities that give the USSF that edge. Think next-gen satellites, hypersonic tech, they're giving you the tools to stay on top.
So SSC builds the tools, SPOC is the one swinging them, and then we got STARCOM, which, if I'm not mistaken, this one's pretty important for our listeners.
This is where it all comes together. STARCOM, they're the brains of the operation. They develop the training and doctrine. They're making sure every single Guardian, they have what they need, the skills, the knowledge, to be the absolute best in this new domain.
So it's like the training ground for space professionals. Yeah.
Exactly. You come in with your skills from whatever your specialty was before, but STARCOM, they make you into a space expert.
And it's not just like the big 3 commands, right? They're all these, what do you call them, subordinate units.
Get it. Each with their own focus. Like you might have a Delta specializing in intel gathering or a directorate focused on laser weapons.
Okay, that tracks.
Point is, they're all like gears in this massive machine.
Working together. Now, there's one more piece, and this is the one I think is the most interesting, and it's this whole concept of the component field command, CFLD-COM for short. Why is that so important, especially for a guardian who might find themselves working with, other branches in a joint operation?
This is where it gets really real. Because the USSF, they're serious about working seamlessly with everyone else. Think of a CFLD comm like a bridge, connecting space operations with what's happening on the ground, in the air, at sea.
So even though you're part of this new branch, you're not just off doing your own thing, you're a part of the bigger fight.
It's like you're a guardian, right? But you're deployed with an army unit, let's say. You're not just there to tag along. You're bringing that unique space perspective, those capabilities, and suddenly they're twice as effective.
It's about knowing how your piece fits into the whole puzzle, no matter what uniform the guy next to you is wearing.
Exactly. CFL-DCCOM, it's about being a force multiplier, making the entire operation stronger because you're there.
So a guardian, they can't just be an expert on space stuff. They got to be well-versed in how all the branches work together, the whole joint doctrine thing.
Big time. Because you're all on the same team at the end of the day. Doesn't matter if you're up in orbit or boots on the ground, same mission.
Teamwork, even in space.
Ah.
All right, let's move on to Chapter 3, because this one's all about you, Guardians. Force development. And this is where it gets really good, because this isn't your grandfather's military. This is about recognizing every Guardian, they've got their own unique skills and talents to bring to the table.
Yeah, this chapter is all about how the USSF, they're not just going to teach you stuff. They're going to invest in you, help you become the best version of yourself for the Space Force.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So how does career progression work in the USSF? Because it can't be just do your time, get a promotion. How do they embrace those individual strengths?
Okay, first things first. Throw the old rulebook out the window. There's no one right path in the USSF. It's not like the old days where it's all linear. Space Force gets that, your career, it might take some turns, and that's a good thing. What matters is that you're always learning, always growing, always expanding what you can do.
So it's less about just putting in your time and more about taking charge of your own development, it sounds like.
Exactly. Figure out where you fit, where your passions are, and go for it. That's what this Guardian development thing is all about.
Okay, yeah, break that down. What is Guardian development?
Think of it like a custom-tailored mission just for you. It's the
Okay.
training, the education, all the experiences. They're all designed to help you become the best in your field, whatever that is.
So you get what you need. The Space Force gets a better Guardian. Everybody wins. Now, the document mentions 4 competency levels.
Right?
Can you walk us through those?
Think of them like stepping stones on the way to becoming a master of your craft. You start at basic proficiency, the fundamentals of your specific area.
Space Force 101,
Ah.
basically.
Exactly. You get more experience, more training under your belt, you hit intermediate. That means you're not just doing the thing, you're understanding the how and why behind it.
Deeper knowledge.
Then comes advanced. You're not just competent, you're excelling. Tougher scenarios, thinking on your feet, even mentoring the newer folks.
He's becoming a go-to person.
And then, the top of the mountain, expert proficiency. This isn't just time and service, this is about being the authority. People look to you not just to do the job, but to shape the future of the USSF.
So okay, let's make this real. Say I'm an orbital warfare specialist. What do those proficiency levels look like in action for me?
Okay, so your orbital warfare, right? Basic, you can probably name the different satellites, what they generally do. Intermediate level, you're getting into the weeds, you understand how they move, how they work together. But expert level, you're not just identifying, you're predicting their movements, you know their weaknesses, you're advising commanders on how to take them down. It's like 3D chess up there.
That's what I'm talking about. It's one thing to memorize a manual, it's another to live it. And the USSF, they've got all sorts of training to help Guardians hit those high levels.
Yeah.
What are some of those training opportunities that a Guardian can expect throughout their career?
Well, you got your basic training, of course, that's a given, right? Getting everyone on the same page. But it doesn't end there. As you move up, there's specialized courses, simulations. We're talking about staying ahead of the curve because space, it doesn't stand still.
It's constantly evolving, which I guess means the training has to too. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, or maybe we should say the satellite in orbit. It's these space-powered discipline courses, SPD.
These courses, they take you deep into what it means to fight a war in space. Think strategic, operational, all the way down to the tactical level stuff.
So this is about more than just knowing your way around a spacecraft. This is understanding how space impacts everything.
You got it. They make you think about the challenges, the opportunities, everything. How does the USSF achieve its goals in this brand new battleground? That's what these courses are about.
So walk me through the different levels of SPD courses. Where does a Guardian's, deep dive into space power begin?
It all starts with the 100 level courses, like laying the foundation. You're learning the vocabulary, the basic concepts. It's about getting everyone speaking the same language.
Space power for dummies, kinda?
In a way, yeah. But they don't mess around, even at that level. It's real world scenarios, looking at history, lots of discussion.
Putting that knowledge to use right from the start.
The real learning, it happens when you got to apply those concepts. 200 and 300 level courses, they go way deeper, obviously.
So 100 level, you're dipping your toes in. The other levels, you're diving into the deep end.
100%. Advanced tactics, dissecting historical space battles. You're grappling with some heavy stuff, the ethical side, the strategic side.
Okay, so this isn't just for pilots and, like, those on the front lines then.
No way. These courses, they're for every Guardian. Doesn't matter if you're designing the tech, analyzing data, you gotta get this stuff.
So it's about having a shared understanding.
Yeah.
Across the entire force.
That's how you build a truly effective force, when everybody gets it.
Now, we can't talk about training and not address the giant computer in the room.
Yeah, it's a digital age.
This supercoders program. What's the deal with that?
Okay, this is how the USSF is staying ahead of the game. Supercoders, it's about digital fluency. It's not just that every Guardian needs to know how to code. It's about thinking digitally, being agile, innovative.
So even if I'm not, like, trying to be the next tech billionaire, I need to know how coding works.
It's the language of progress, right? And the USSF, they're making sure their Guardians are fluent. It's not about just operating in a digital world. It's about shaping it.
So pretty important.
Pretty important. And it goes beyond just the coding, too. The USSF gets it. Learning doesn't stop.
It's got to be continuous, right?
And it's not just about the tech stuff. It's about fostering this mindset of, hey, I want to learn new things. I want to expand my mind. Lifelong learning. That's the key.
So beyond these specific courses, what does that look like? What other educational opportunities are there for Guardians? Because I'm guessing it's not just like, here's a textbook.
Oh, there's a ton. Professional military education, or PME, for starters. We're talking leadership development, strategic thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But there's also professional continuing education, PCE. That's for those who really want to drill down into a specific area. And then, of course, you've got your straight-up academic degrees, masters, doctorates.
So the learning never really has to stop if you don't want it to.
Exactly. PME, it's about preparing you for those leadership roles. The higher you go, the more responsibility, so you got to be ready.
What are some examples of PME, just so our listeners get an idea?
Well, if you're enlisted, it starts with Airman Leadership School. You learn how to lead small teams, how to communicate, how to make decisions when things get tough.
The foundations?
Then you got the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy. And for those who are really kicking butt, there's the Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Academy. Each level, it builds on the last one.
So you're not just getting promoted, you're being prepared for it. And I'm guessing there's a similar track for officers.
Yep. After you get commissioned, usually you'd head to Squadron Officer School.
Mm-hmm.
Focus there is on leading bigger teams, tackling those bigger challenges.
Or teaching stuff.
Exactly. Then there's Air Command and Staff College. They've even got a specific program for space folks, the Schriever Space Scholars Program. And for those who are aiming for the tippy top, School of Advanced Air and Space Studies. Air War colleges got the West Space Seminar.
That's some high-level stuff.
At that point, you're not just learning about space power, you're shaping the future of it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But what about those who maybe they know they want to be in space, but they're not sure about, like, the leadership path? Maybe they want to really specialize in a specific thing. That's where the professional continuing education comes in, right?
That's exactly it. PCE, it's about becoming that go-to expert, the person everyone calls on for your specific thing.
So if my thing is, I don't know, analyzing data from spy satellites, there's a PCE path for that.
100%. Check out the National Security Space Institute, the NSSI. They got tons of courses, everything from how to plan space operations to, intelligence gathering, understanding space law, the works.
They've got it all.
And if they don't, well, that's where those advanced degrees come in. USSF, they're all about their Guardians getting those master's degrees, even PhDs.
So it's not just about checking a box. It's about fostering this, like, culture of, I want to learn more. I want to be better. Because the more you know, the better Guardian you'll be.
It's about investing in yourself, which in turn makes the entire USSF stronger.
Now, all this learning is great, but I'm guessing it's not all done in a classroom.
Oh, definitely not.
The USSF, they recognize that, hey, some of the most important lessons, they're learned by doing, by
Well,
getting out there, pushing boundaries.
experience is the best teacher, right?
Exactly. And speaking of pushing boundaries, we got to take a quick pause for a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back with more Guardians, so don't go anywhere. And we're back, Guardians, diving right back into the thick of it. Before the break, we were talking about how the USSF, they get it. Real-world experience, that's where the rubber meets the road. It's not enough to just know the stuff in the manuals. You got to live it.
It's like you've been in the simulator, you know the controls, but now it's time to actually fly the spacecraft, see what you're made of.
Exactly. So what are some of the ways the USSF gets Guardians, that real-world experience, those growth assignments that really test what they can do?
Well, first off, you got your joint assignments. We talked about this earlier. Modern warfare, it's all about the branches working together, right? Seamless integration.
Got to be a team player.
Exactly. And the USSF knows that to be truly effective, Guardians, they're going to be working side by side with folks from the other branches a lot.
So, like, I could be a Guardian specializing in space-based intelligence, but I get deployed with an Army unit on the ground.
That's right. You're feeding them real-time intel from your birds up above, giving them that tactical advantage. Or maybe you're on a Navy ship, using your expertise to make sure their comms are good to go, coordinating surveillance.
It's taking that space knowledge and making it real for those other boots on the ground.
Exactly. These joint assignments, they're not just about checking boxes on your resume. They build relationships. You understand how the other branches tick, what their strengths are, their limitations.
It's like building trust, breaking down those walls between services.
100%. You're one team, one fight. Doesn't matter what uniform you're wearing.
Absolutely. And it's not just other branches. The USSF, they want Guardians working with other government agencies too.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Right.
We're talking the intelligence world, folks at the NRO, the NGA, even NASA. Imagine you're a Guardian embedded with NASA working on some crazy new project.
It's about sharing knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Making sure everyone benefits.
That's the idea. The best solutions, they usually come from unexpected places. When you get those different perspectives in a room, that's when the magic happens.
It's that cross-pollination of ideas. Speaking of which, we got to talk about the commercial side of things, because the space industry, it's booming. The USSF knows they can't just ignore that.
No way, they're all about partnering with these private companies.
Sounds like a whole new world opening up.
Right. And that's where the education with industry opportunities come in. EWIs.
Okay, I've heard of those, but explain it to me like I'm not a rocket scientist.
Basically, you're a Guardian, but you take a break from the uniform, you go work with one of these companies. Could be SpaceX, Blue Origin, whoever's pushing the envelope.
So it's like a crash course in the latest and greatest tech.
You're working alongside the engineers designing the next generation of spacecraft. Maybe you're in the mix for developing new launch systems.
It's gotta be mind-blowing, that kind of access.
The point is, the USSF knows they can't be stuck in their ways. This whole commercial space thing, it's moving fast. EWIs, they're about keeping pace, building those relationships with the companies that are changing the game.
It's about realizing that the future of space, it's not just about governments anymore. It's bigger than that. And the USSF, they want to be on the forefront of that.
They're not afraid to share the sandbox.
I like it. Now, we've talked about a lot of the, I guess, the more exciting stuff. But there's something else, and I think this is where SDP-1 really shines. It's this focus on Guardian resilience.
Right, because it's not all about lasers and rockets.
Exactly. Being a Guardian, it's demanding. It's high-tech, it's high stress. You're operating in a domain that's, let's be honest, pretty unforgiving.
And the USSF, they get that. They know that to build the best Space Force, they got to take care of their people, their minds, bodies, the whole package.
So how does that actually play out? How does the USSF actually foster that resilience within its ranks?
It starts with this really simple idea, but it's huge. It's okay to not be okay.
I think that's something a lot of people, especially in the military, struggle with.
Oh, for sure. But the USSF, they're trying to change that. They're saying, look, if you're feeling the pressure, if things are getting to you, it's not a weakness to ask for help. In fact, it's a sign of strength.
So vulnerability is seen as a good thing.
It should be. It means you're self-aware, that you're committed to being the best Guardian you can be. And they've got resources for that. Mental health professionals, stress management workshops, even financial counseling.
It's holistic,
Yeah.
right? Taking care of the whole person.
100%, because they're all connected. And these resources, they're not just for when you're already struggling. It's about equipping Guardians with the tools and the know-how to handle the stress, to stay healthy, in every sense of the word.
So that when those tough times inevitably hit, because they will, Guardians are ready.
Exactly. They've got the coping mechanisms, the support systems to navigate those challenges and come out stronger.
And this commitment to well-being,
Hmm.
it's not just for the Guardians themselves, right?
Yeah,
It extends to their families as well.
absolutely. Because let's face it, military life, it's not just hard on the person in uniform, it impacts the whole family.
The deployments, the moves, the long hours, all of it.
The USSF gets that. That's why they've got programs for families too. Spouse employment resources, help with childcare, even stuff to help families stay connected when their guardians deployed.
It's about recognizing that a strong family unit, that's the foundation for a strong Guardian.
Exactly. When a guardian knows their family's got their six, they can focus on the mission, they can give it their all, knowing that their loved ones are taken care of.
And let's be honest, sometimes you just need a break from the intensity of it all.
No, for sure. That's where those MWR programs come in.
MWR.
Morale, welfare, and recreation, sports leagues, hobby clubs, family fun days.
I've even heard whispers of the USSF getting in on the whole esports thing.
They're all over it. Air Force gaming, Space Force gaming, it's a thing. It's about blowing off steam, building camaraderie, who knows, maybe even honing those strategic thinking skills in a virtual environment.
Now, I do want to take a moment here to say something really important to all you Guardians listening out there. The USSF, they are 100% committed to your well-being. And that's not just a line in a manual. If you're struggling with anything, don't keep it bottled up. Reach out. There's no shame in asking for help.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, with that being said, let's shift gears a little bit, blast off to Chapter 5, Global Perspective. This chapter really drives home the point that the USSF, they're not operating in a bubble.
Nope, not at all. Space, it's becoming more and more international, more crowded, more complex every single day.
It's like the Wild West out there.
That's one way to put it. You got more countries than ever launching satellites, developing their own space programs, and then you got private companies getting in the mix.
So it's not enough to just be the best anymore. The USSF has to be diplomats too.
Kinda. This chapter, it's all about Guardians developing what they call a global mindset. Understanding that there are a lot of different players out there, and they've all got their own goals, their own perspectives.
So it's about building relationships with those other spacefaring nations.
Exactly. Because the USSF, they know that the challenges in space, stuff like dealing with space junk, preventing an arms race, that's not something we can solve on our own. It's got to be a team effort.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
how does that actually play out? What are some of the ways the USSF is building those relationships on the international stage?
They've got a few different avenues. There's mobile training teams where Guardians, they go and share their expertise with partner nations, kind of like space ambassadors, I guess you could say.
Spreading the space gospel, one satellite at a time.
Exactly. And then there's military personnel exchange programs. This is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Think about it. You're a Guardian, right? And you get embedded with a foreign military, working alongside their space professionals, learning how they do things, sharing your own knowledge.
Talk about an eye-opening experience.
Yeah. That's the point. It builds understanding, trust, all that good stuff. And that's absolutely critical in space because things can escalate quickly if you don't have that open line of communication.
It's about building bridges, not blowing them up, as they say.
Mhm.
And it's not just about working with our allies, right? SDP-1 talks about engaging with these new up-and-coming space nations, too.
Right. Because the USSF, they recognize that the future of space, it's going to be shaped by these new players. So it's about building those relationships early, making sure everyone's on the same page.
It's about shaping the future,
No.
not just reacting to it. Now, on a slightly different note, the document also talks about the importance of interagency cooperation. It's like they're saying, hey, even here at home, we got to break down those silos and work together.
100%. Just because the USSF is its own branch now doesn't mean they're off doing their own thing.
Right, space is just one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. They got to work closely with all the other agencies that play a role in national security, intelligence agencies, obviously, the NRO, the NGA.
So a Guardian might find themselves working with someone from the CIA.
Could happen. Maybe you're analyzing satellite imagery to track, I don't know, a terrorist cell or something. Or maybe you're helping NASA scientists crunch data from a space telescope.
It's about leveraging everybody's strengths.
Right. Breaking down those bureaucratic walls, because at the end of the day, it's about the mission.
It's about getting the job done, whatever it takes. One specific program I wanted to ask you about, it's the University Partnership Program, the UPP.
Ah, yes. This is a cool one. This is the USSF investing in the future, plain and simple.
How so?
Well, the UPP, it's all about connecting with universities, building those relationships with academia. Because let's face it, some of the smartest people in the world, they're in those labs and classrooms.
So we're talking research grants, internships for guardians.
All of that. And it's a two-way street. The USSF gets access to cutting-edge research, a pipeline for new talent, and the universities, they benefit from the USSF's experience, their resources.
Everyone wins. Okay, with that, I think we're ready to take on the final chapter of our deep dive into SDP-1, USAF support to the USSF. Even though it's its own branch now, the USSF, it's still got a pretty close relationship with its parent service, the Air Force.
Like a kid who moves out but still goes back home for laundry day sometimes.
That's a good way to put it. So this chapter, it outlines how the Air Force is continuing to lend a hand, making sure that transition goes smoothly.
Exactly. There are still a lot of functions that the Air Force handles for the USSF. For example, you got the Air Force Personnel Center, AFPC. They're still managing assignments, personnel stuff for Guardians.
That makes sense, especially for a brand new branch.
Yeah.
Why reinvent the wheel when you've got experts who already know how to do it?
Right. It's about leveraging those existing systems, that infrastructure, as the USSF builds out its own capabilities.
So what are some other examples of this support from the Air Force?
Well, there's the Air Force Material Command, AFMC. They're handling base ops, maintenance, all that good stuff, keeping the lights on, basically.
The unsung heroes, keeping everything running behind the scenes.
Totally. And then you've got the Air Force Reserve and the Air National Guard. They provide that surge capacity, those specialized skills, whenever and wherever the USSF needs them.
So even though I might be active duty Space Force, I could end up working alongside reservists or guardsmen.
Absolutely. And that's a good thing. It brings in a whole new set of experiences, perspectives, strengthens the force as a whole.
It's that total force concept, right? Active duty, reserve, guard, civilians all working together.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what color uniform you're wearing. It's about accomplishing the mission.
Now, before we move on, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the amazing families and loved ones of those serving in the USSF. Being a guardian, it's a calling, it's a commitment. But it's not just the person in uniform who sacrifices, it's their families too.
Couldn't agree more.
So to all the spouses, partners, kids, parents, friends, everyone who supports a guardian, thank you. Your strength, your love, it doesn't go unnoticed. You're the backbone of the USSF.
Hear, hear.
Now, I think it's time we talk about the elephant in the room, or maybe I should say the spaceship in orbit.
What's that?
We've talked about the mission, the structure, the training, all of the support that's in place for Guardians. But we haven't really talked about what it's actually like, the day-to-day experience, what it feels like to be a Guardian out there on the final frontier.
Right, because it's one thing to read about it in a document like SDP-1. It's another thing entirely to live it.
So for those listening who are thinking, man, this sounds incredible, but is it really all it's cracked up to be? Am I cut out for this? What would you say? What are some of the unique challenges and rewards that come with being a Guardian?
Well, the first thing is you got to be comfortable with being a pioneer. Because the USSF, it's still a baby branch. There's no rule book for a lot of this stuff.
So you're charting a new course, making it up as you go along.
Pretty much. You're writing the next chapter in military history, and that can be exciting, but it can also be a little daunting.
It's a lot of responsibility.
It is, and it's not for everyone. But if you're the kind of person who thrives on challenge, who wants to be on the cutting edge of something truly new, then this could be the perfect fit.
So adaptability is key. What else? What other challenges should potential Guardians be aware of?
Well, the space domain, it's moving at warp speed, right? What's cutting edge today could be obsolete tomorrow.
So you got to be comfortable with change, with constantly learning new things.
Exactly. And you got to be comfortable with technology because let's face it, space operations are pretty high tech. You're dealing with complex systems, analyzing mountains of data. It's not for the technologically faint of heart.
So if you're the type who can't even program their DVR, this might not be the best fit.
Probably not. But it's not just about technical skills either. The USSF also needs people who are creative thinkers, problem solvers, people who can see the big picture.
Because you're not just operating a satellite, you're shaping the future of how space is used.
Exactly. And that brings us to the rewards. Because for the right person, all those challenges, they're not really challenges, they're opportunities. They're part of what makes being a Guardian so rewarding.
So let's talk about those rewards. What are some of the things that make serving in the USF such a unique and fulfilling experience?
Well, for starters, there's the sense of purpose. You're not just defending a piece of land or a stretch of ocean. You're protecting the ultimate high ground. You're safeguarding the space domain that makes so much of modern life possible.
It's heavy responsibility, but it's also a huge honor.
Absolutely. And because the USSF is still relatively small, there's this incredible sense of camaraderie. You're part of an elite team, a family, really. You're working alongside some of the smartest, most dedicated people in the country, all striving toward a common goal.
There's a real sense of purpose, of being part of something bigger than yourself.
Exactly. And you're constantly learning, growing, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. The opportunities for personal and professional development in the USSF, they're unparalleled.
It's not just a job. It's an adventure.
That's a great way to put it. So for anyone listening who's feeling that pull, that sense of adventure, I'd say this: don't let fear hold you back.
Don't assume you're not qualified or that you don't have what it takes.
Exactly. The USSF is looking for talented, motivated individuals from all walks of life.
So what's the first step? How can someone who's interested, how can they learn more? See if the USSF is the right fit for them.
Well, the USSF website is a great place to start. They've got tons of information about different career fields, testimonials from guardians, all that good stuff.
And don't be afraid to reach out to a recruiter. They're there to answer your questions, walk you through the process.
Absolutely. They want to help you figure out if this is the right path for you.
Because the future of space, it's being written right now.
And the USSF is looking for the best and brightest to join their ranks.
If you're up for the challenge, Guardians, reach out. You might just surprise yourself. And we're back, Guardians, wrapping up our deep dive into SDP-1. We've gone through a lot, the ins and outs of the USSF, what it takes to really be a Guardian in this new Wild West of space.
We really dug into the details, but sometimes you got to step back, look at the forest, not just the trees.
Exactly. So as we come in for a landing here, what are your big takeaways? What's the lasting impact of this SDP-1 for the USSF, for the future of space power as a whole?
This document, it's not just some boring rule book. It's a mission statement, It's how the USSF is saying, this is who we are, this is where we're going, and this is how we're going to get there.
It's setting the stage, and it acknowledges, like, hey, space, that's not static, it's constantly evolving.
And they get that, which is huge. But one of the most important things, for me at least, is the emphasis on the human element.
Right, because it's not just about having the coolest tech or the most satellite.
It's about the people behind it all.
The Guardians.
Without them, the tech doesn't mean anything. So SDP-1, it's saying, we're going to invest in our Guardians, give them what they need to be the best, create an environment where they can thrive.
It's about more than just, like, telling them what to do. It's about empowering them.
100%. And that's what makes this document so different. It's not just a strategy for space. It's a strategy for people who want to be a part of something bigger, who are ready to step up and answer the call.
Who want to make history. And for anyone listening who's feeling that pull, that sense of, I want to be a part of this, what do you say to them? What's the next step?
Don't wait for an invitation, Guardians. Go out there and explore the USSF website. It's got tons of info, different career paths, what it's really like to be a Guardian.
And if you've got questions, reach out.
Yeah.
Talk to a recruiter. They're not just going to try to sign you up. They'll give it to you straight.
They want to make sure it's the right fit. Because the USSF, they're building something special here.
They're building the future one Guardian at a time. Well said. And with that, Guardians, we're signing off on this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And remember, the sky's not the limit when there are footprints on the moon.